What's up, YouTube? I wanted to make this video because I found that there wasn't enough information about this scope before I purchased it. So I figured I'd purchase it and review it for you guys, see if it's any good, and give you an honest review. So right here we have the BARSKA Electro-Sight. It's a 4x20 optic, magnified optic, 6.9 inches long, 1.4 inches tall, and a 3.8 inch height altogether with the mount. Here's the actual unit itself. It's actually pretty nice aluminum. Now it looks a little weird compared to today's scopes. It's actually based off of the old Electro-Lux scope for the A2 carry handle. That's where it gets the name Electro-Sight. A lot of people are misled thinking that this is an illuminated optic. It is not. It's not battery powered. It does have a ballistic drop compensated turret, and you have a choice between a mil dot or duplex reticle. Now inside the box, this is the box itself, you'll get the unit, an instructional booklet, and a couple cheap scope covers that I just threw in the trash because they're trash. So we'll show you how to mount the scope, how it works, what the clarity is like on the glass, and we'll do a little bit of test fire and zeroing. Stay tuned. Now I find that this scope fills a very specific niche in the AR market especially. The scope is made for people who are looking for a decent budget scope for a carry handle that they're not going to be spending a ton of money on. You can get the Brownells version of the carry handle scope, the copy of the Electro-Lux. They usually run around $280 to $300. Now I'm a broke college student. I can't afford that right now. I have shot at Brownells and they're an amazing scope. I'm by no means saying that you should get the BARSKA over the Brownells. I'm simply showing you what you get with this scope. Very nice aluminum. The anodizing's pretty nice. You get BARSKA 4x20. There's your front objective lens. Here's your rear lens, which is adjustable for the focus. Right here you do have your ballistic drop compensated turret. So you zero it at 100 yards on the 1, and if you shoot out to 200, click it over to 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. And it's got some pretty positive clicks as well, I'm sure you can hear. Now, to mount it, take this bracket, unloosen it all the way, and take it off. Grab your rifle. Now you can use a detached carry handle. This is made for a A2 style carry handle fixed into the receiver. Make sure your firearm is safety checked, unloaded, on safe, and in a safe direction. You want to take this screw and put it into the hole in the top of your carry handle. Make sure it's nice and tight on there, no debris in it. Take the bracket. You're going to want it with the lever on the bottom. Place it onto the screw. Tighten accordingly. Can be a little tricky at times, so bear with me here. Okay, so once you're at right about here, you're going to want this bracket holding onto the carry handle. And you'll tighten it, and you'll feel this little brass knob on two little indents. Tighten it, not so tight that you feel like it's going to break, but so it'll hold the scope on. Once you got it right about where you feel like it, make sure it's in that indent, and you have successfully mounted your BARSKA Electro-Sight 4x20 to your AR carry handle. Now I'd recommend this scope for anyone who has a 5.56 or a 22 or something they just want a nice retroscope on. I think I paid $65 for it on Amazon. It's not an amazing scope, but it gets the job done. It's very basic, it's very easy to learn, very easy to use. So I'll show you the clarity of the glass out my window, show you what the reticle is like, and yeah. Okay guys, so here's the BARSKA mounted on my A2 clone. Right here. There we go. So that's the mil dot reticle. I am holding the rifle at a cant because of my tripod. So I'll take a photo of it as well. But it's actually pretty decent, pretty clear glass on it. I do have a screen in front of my window, so but we'll show you what the reticle is like. I'll take a photo of it for you guys. So one thing I forgot to mention about the BARSKA is, although it is a magnified optic up top, they do include a hole through the mount that you can still use your standard A2 sights on. which is pretty decent. I think that's a pretty smart idea. Right now, my iron sight's set to the standard military 25-300 mark. I'm gonna zero the BARSKA at 100 yards, and then we'll have a pretty good setup for this A2. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. Okay, guys, we have a Birchwood Casey shoot and see target set out at 100 yards. Right there. We're going to take a quick 5-shot group, see where we're at with our zero. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, the scope is nitrogen purge, so it's going to help prevent against fogging. We're going to set the scope at the 1 for 100 yards and see what our groupings are like. Now, I do have the scope caps off for zeroing, but that's just for zeroing. I'd recommend keeping the scope caps on. They do have a rubber O-ring, which is going to help keep moisture out of your scope. So, we'll set up, and we'll see how the BARSKA does. Okay, I'll take a hike out there and show you guys the details. All right, so shot at 100 yards. I don't know if it's just because the scope comes, you know, way out of whack, but I was shooting about 2 feet high and 1 foot right at 100 yards. Wasted an entire magazine just trying to find my shots. Got it a couple times because I was just dicking around trying to put the reticle around the target at different places. So I moved it to 25 yards, new magazine of ammunition, and we're going to see how we do. Now if it's zeroed at 25, it's going to hit 2.5 inches high at 100. So I'll just adjust from that. So, round 2 with the BARSKA. I'm not exactly pleased, as you can tell. All right, success. I had to lay down into the snow, but we got it dialed in. And if you're, I got it within probably an inch and a half. That's good enough for me. This is just a little range plinker. We're gonna go ring my steel at 75 yards, see if it's on. If it's on, hey, I'll take it, man. It's a $60 scope. So, it looks like I gotta take a shower though. It's gonna suck. Alrighty, I got 4 rounds left. 3 in the mag, 1 in the gun. Have to clean this damn thing off, but let's see if we can ring that steel plate at 75 yards and lay down. Get a little more support. Overall, except for the zeroing failure, it's pretty decent. I actually really like it. I think it's going to do well once I get it really dialed in. Alright. Hit 2 of them off the side, 2 of them really high. So that's to be expected. You zero at 25 yards, bullet's going to rise and drop. So once I'm able to get out to a proper range, I can zero this at 100. But guys, it's a durable scope. It held up really well. I think it just needs to sit on a bench rest and shoot at 100 versus sitting out on a tree and shooting at mud. So, yeah. Alright guys, so that's my review of the BARSKA carry handle scope 4x20. Overall, it's actually a really decent scope. It's well built. The reticle is easy to use, especially for beginners or someone who just wants a basic scope. And it held up. It was a little difficult to zero in at first,
but once we got it dialed in, it was good. I wouldn't say, you know, out of 10, you know, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, I'd give it a solid, you know, 7, 7.5. Not amazing by any, you know, margin, but it's passing. It's a good scope. It'll do good. So if you want to pick one up, you can check one on Amazon. I got it for like 60, 65 bucks. Especially around the holidays, they'll be a little lower price. So yeah, there you go. This is Rob from Tap Rack 207, and I'll see you later.